Alright guys, very common question, Galaxy S23 Plus or the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It makes a lot of sense. Both these phones in the used refurbished marketplace cost pretty much the same. I think with the S23 Plus being slightly a little bit cheaper, but you'll be paying close to around $400 for these phones. Like I said, we've been seeing S23 Pluses for as cheap as like $350. But like I said, I would go and get an excellent condition just to make sure you're getting the best, value for your money, and that's typically going to be close to that $400. All right, so both phones are actually fantastic. These are two of my favorite phones to recommend and use. So the comparison really comes down to, I think, the cameras, because that is what a lot of people are curious about. Does this iPhone have better cameras than the S23 Plus? Does it have better video? And yeah, so we're going to be checking that out as well. But these phones are pretty evenly matched. So when it comes to the overall hardware, they both have beautiful hardware, as you guys can see. Very, very nice. They're both pretty comfortable to hold. The iPhone is a little bit bigger, so if you have smaller hands, the S23 Plus, for me, is a little bit more comfortable, but it's not really a big deal. But yeah, they both are, comfortable in the hand. They're both, kind of on the bigger side, but the S23 Plus is not as big. And hardware-wise, IP68 dust and water resistant. Of course, you're going to have USB Type-C, and you're going to have Apple's old charging port on the 13 Pro Max. Triple camera setup on both. And yeah, as far as the hardware goes, I think both phones still look fantastic. You got that matte finish on both of these as well. Even though the 13 Pro Max display is pretty good, I still think the S23 Plus display is better. It's got slimmer bezels. And overall, you have a smaller punch hole instead of Apple's notch up top. So it just overall looks, more aesthetically pleasing. And then also, I personally like the more colorful profile on the S23 Plus display. So it is a 6.6 inch display. It's dynamic AMOLED, 120 Hz, HDR10 Plus. Another bonus with the S23 Plus display is that it actually has a higher max brightness. So going outside, super sunny outside today, it's way easier to see the S23 Plus as opposed to the 13 Pro Max with its 1200 nits peak brightness. And it's a 1080p panel, 393 for the PPI. And the 13 Pro Max is not a bad display at all. We have Apple's XDR OLED display. It's 120 Hz, HDR10. And then we also have 6.7 inches. It does have a slightly higher resolution at 1284 by 2778. And that's 458 for the PPI. But like I said, the display I think is, overall just a little bit better on the S23 Plus visually. And then also your max brightness outdoors is just a lot better to see the S23 Plus. But honestly, both displays are really good. The iPhone has the 120 Hz, so you don't have to worry about that. And yeah, I think, it's fine. All right, guys, let's talk about the specs a little bit more here, and we'll pull up the Geekbench scores. Both phones are pretty similar in terms of performance, so it's something that I wouldn't necessarily worry about. So they're both on, the latest software, iOS 18 for right now, and this is on Android 15. And you can see the iPhone comes out on top a little bit here in the Geekbench. And then we also have our 3D Mark scores here, which I will show you just for your reference, so you can see, how the scores look. And yeah, guys, the overall performance in general, I think is pretty good. They both do a really good job. Performance in general is pretty good. They both do a pretty good job in terms of animations and opening up applications, everything remaining very smooth. Boom. So I would say if you're a power user, honestly, it really doesn't matter. The 13 and the S23 is plenty enough, powerful. Okay. And everything typically, when I use these phones, they run very, very smoothly. Both phones run very well when it comes to playing games like PUBG. We can actually run at Ultra Extreme or 120 frames. They both do a great job with extended periods of gaming. That's why I said these phones match up pretty well, because playing Genshin, Call of Duty, PUBG on these phones, I've never had an issue with it. Battery life has not been an issue on these phones as well. So you can, do some competitive gaming on these phones for relatively, not cheap, but, cheaper than you would spending $1,000, right? Let's go ahead and check out the speakers at max volume. We'll start with the Plus. Yeah, so the first thing I noticed immediately, the 13 Pro Max is a lot louder. And the bass is actually louder on the 13 Pro Max. So I think it just overall has the better speaker here. The clarity is pretty good too. I do kind of like the more crispier sound profile on the S23 Plus, but I mean, it clearly, has a better speaker to me. It just overall louder, better bass, and I think the sound profile is pretty good, but it is a louder speaker. But it really depends, because I do like the way they tweak the S23 Plus speakers, where it sounds a little bit more crisp. The hi-hats sound a little bit more real. Yeah, so I mean, both speakers are pretty good, guys. The cool thing with Android is you can use your face unlock or your fingerprint scanner. So you have two methods. With iPhone, of course, you only have one method here, and that is your Face ID. Another advantage that the S23 Plus has, that's actually a pretty big one. You do have more AI features. So if the AI stuff is, interesting to you, you have the Galaxy AI here. You have a lot of stuff. Because these phones have 8 gigs of RAM, Samsung was able to bring it down. And unfortunately, since the iPhone has only 6 gigs of RAM, you can't, get any of the AI features. And I wonder, even if they had 8 gigs of RAM, I wonder if Apple would even bring it down anyway. But yeah, so we have the circle to search. We have the updated Gemini. So someone who is, you're thinking, I want to try the AI features, you have a ton of them here. And you can enjoy them. So yeah, so that's one advantage that these older Galaxy phones have over the older iPhones. All right, so let's check out the image quality here, because this is pretty much the deciding factor for most people. The iPhone has a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel telephoto. We can go up to a 15 times zoom with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot in 4K 60, and then we have a 12 megapixel selfie that can also shoot in 4K 60. And with the S23 Plus here, we have a 50 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto that can get us up to 30 times zoom, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. We have 8K 24 and 30 video, and a 12 megapixel selfie that can shoot in 4K 60 as well. Check out these side-by-side stills and video. What do you guys think? Team here. Look outside. Look outside. I do get better battery life on my S23 Plus here because it probably doesn't have that much battery degrade. Let's see what this is. 86% is actually still pretty good, and I'm not getting bad battery life on my 13 Pro Max at all. I can still get through the day even with this being at 86% battery health. But yeah, I do have, to me, just better battery life on my S23 Plus, but you have a bigger battery on the S23 Plus at 4700 milliamps. It does charge much faster than the iPhone at 45 watts. And then you also have your wireless and reverse wireless charging on here as well. Now, the iPhone has a 4352 milliamp hour battery. This also has your wireless charging with MagSafe capability. And yeah, it does not charge as fast as the S23 Plus, unfortunately, but you can get pretty good screen on time. So I'm curious, what kind of screen on time you guys get on your 13 Pro Max? I feel like I can still get through the day with this phone pretty easily as a lighter user anyway. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I think this comparison really comes down to, iOS versus Android, the classic, debate. But I think it really comes down to the cameras as well. And then also the AI features. Like, do you need the AI features? And yeah, I think it comes down to those things because that's what people were most curious about because they're pretty evenly matched in a lot of the other areas.